without further ado, we are joined here today with Orion Cosce, fresh off his win and shiny new UFC contract last Tuesday on the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. Orion, glad to have you on, my friend, and a big congratulations, man. I just want to start off by asking how you're feeling and how the last couple days been since winning the Contender Series.
I feel great, fully recovered, healthy. I had a few like aches and bruises from the fight, but that was about it. I heal fast. I feel good though, man. I feel really good. I just can't wait to get my next fight. Hopefully whoever against will be a good opponent again. I don't like to fight cans. I don't want to fight slouches. So I just want the best of the best.
Awesome, man. I hear you. And just how did it feel being the biggest underdog on the card and taking out a guy in Matt Dixon who had such a tremendous and impressive pedigree? He trained with a guy like Bryce Mitchell. So just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Typically, I really don't care who people train with. I heard he brought Mark Munoz into this camp for his wrestling. He did a great first round when it came to the takedowns. The first one, he kind of just got me up against the cage and put me on my butt, but I was able to fight it off, throw some punches on the way. And then the next two takedowns he got in that first round, those were perfectly timed on me overcommitting. I made those adjustments, but I never think about it like, oh, he's 9-0. I knew he was 9-0 for a reason. I saw some of his fights. I knew that he had everything going for him. But I was never nervous. I didn't care about being a favorite or the underdog. When I heard I was the underdog, I was like, I feel like the only reason I'm being told I'm the underdog is because these guys don't really have much on me. My fight against Joe Crouchshot, you can't find that anywhere. My fight against Wally Wester is in grainy film footage, and that's on Facebook. That's not even on YouTube. And I only have bits and pieces of highlights from each and every one of my previous 6 professional fights. I think 2 of them might be on YouTube. I'm not sure. But, I just don't care. 9-0, you can be 21-3 or something like that. Your record doesn't, it's impressive, but your record doesn't bother me. I watched Dragon Ball Z my whole life. I got the Shenron tattoo, obviously, and my feeling towards fighting is to be like Goku. I just want to fight the best there is, strongest there is. They could have got me a can if they wanted to. My manager asked me who I wanted to fight, and my exact words were to him, get me the best fucker possible. And, he got me Matt Dixon. And I was glad to have that fight because I knew going in, he's one of the top prospects. I think they said he was the number 3 or the number 4 prospect in all of MMA, which is huge. So there was somebody they were obviously looking at for a while to try to get into the UFC. And that's a guy, maybe he shouldn't have had to fight Contender. I heard some people saying, he should have just been a guy who had his first fight in the UFC already. And it's kind of like a slap in the face, but it's like, well, what about me? I'm 6-0 with all finishes, and I just proved I don't quit. I already, now I'm 7-0 all finishes. My brother, we're 7-0 all finishes now. But beforehand, we're just, hey, 6-0 all finishes. They're fighting cans. But now we beat these guys on this big stage. People are saying, oh, they're actually the real deal. It's like, yeah, we always were. We just didn't have the platform to be able to say that.
Mm-hmm. Well said, man. Well said. Absolutely. So we saw you deal with some adversity in that first round, and I'd only assume that this is the most important fight of your career thus far, as you were just touching upon. So how were you able to stay so composed in such a high pressure situation, and what adjustments did you make in between rounds that helped you pull out a win?
I just told myself that motherfucker's not taking me down again. I was pissed. I was like, I'm the better wrestler coming into this fight. And he took me down 3 times and I didn't attempt a single takedown. I'm like, nah, fuck that. But my game plan wasn't to try to do the grappling immediately. My game plan was to try to throw heavy bombs on him because I've seen in his previous fights to where when he fights people, he's the one who's the aggressor. He's dictating the pace of the fight. He's able to get his combinations off. But as we saw in my fight against him, I think the most punch kick combination he ever threw was a total of 3 strikes. But that's also because in the first round, I made it to where he knew he had to fear those strikes. He knew that he'd have to start level changing. So after the first round, I knew he wasn't going to take me down again. I was talking with Uriah. I was talking with my, Coach Brian. And I just told him, I was like, he won't take me down again. He's done. Like, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to slowly break his will. And it was just something I knew going into the second round. All I have to do now is stuff his takedowns because I took his best shots. I felt it. But every time I hit him, I just didn't feel like he liked it. But that was also something I noticed in previous fights. If he got hit hard, he was thinking, oh, dang, I don't want to get knocked out. But I don't have that fear of what happens if I get knocked out, because I'm not going in there afraid to lose, because I'm visually training myself over and over for like a month, just doing visual training of, if I'm in this position, what do I do get out of it? And that's what helped. Like, oh, if he takes me down, what am I going to do? So I feel like that helped a lot. But the second round, I knew that making those adjustments was going to wear him down even more, because I don't get tired when someone's holding me against the cage. That's why I was sitting him. I was, moving. If I wanted to move him against the cage, I was. But that was all to wear his arms down more and more and more. And we saw in that third round how that played out.
Awesome. So what made you want to become a fighter?
Ever since I was a kid, man. I was just wanted to fight ever since I was a kid. I wanted to do something active with my life. But my brother and I, we grew up fighting. We had my dad and his friends would bring their kids over. We'd all just box it up or fight. And then even going around on the, like on the school bus. Like we'd fight on the school bus. Like as friends, though, like we'd beat each other up on the school bus. We'd get off the school bus, start instantly beating the shit out of each other before we go to school. And, just watching those early Pride and UFC fights back in the day, even like early WEC, stuff like that. It was huge. It was huge on the way that it factored in on who we are today.
And so I just wanted to. I was asking how has COVID affected your training?
It didn't. The only time I was out of the gym was the first month and a half, I believe, maybe the first month. But I found ways to train. There is no excuse. I was telling people that if you need more time, if you need time to get back into the gym, I was like, dude, the world's my fucking gym. It's my oyster. Like I can go and climb a tree. I can go do rock climbing, swimming, hiking, sprints up the hill, carrying big logs, cutting wood. Like there is no excuse. You can shadow box. You can literally train outside with your friends. I'm lucky because every time I went to Humboldt, my brother would be like, hey man, the gym's closed. I was like, and I brought my boxing gear. You got your boxing gear. You got a garage. Like we can do some striking in there. And he's like, oh yeah, no, you're right. And so the Humboldt, we'd be able to train. Like we'd go to the beach and train. We'd go into the woods and train. We'd go swimming together. We do a bunch. And there is just no excuse. Either you're going to keep yourself ready in the best way possible, or you're not going to keep yourself ready. I've heard of fighters, saying, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life. COVID hasn't kept me down. And then after they lose, I wasn't able to get in like the full training camp like I'd like to. I wasn't able to have people to grapple with. It's like, nah, you're making fucking excuses now. Like, let's not do that. There's no excuse. If Matt Dixon would have been the better man, if he would have, I'm not saying he's not a better man, like maybe he is, but if he would have beat me that night, I would have had no excuse. I trained my ass off. I worked hard every single day. Even when I had an injury, I would find the fastest way to recover just so I knew to be ready for this fight. And I'm pretty sure he did the same thing too.
Awesome. So there was a very interesting moment at the end of the second round there where there was about 2 seconds left and you went and touched gloves with Matt. And I didn't really bat too much of an eye to it, but Dana commented on it at the end of the fight when he was handing out contracts. And he made a comment and he said that you might have seemed tired. I would definitely argue that you obviously seemed like the fresher fighter out of the two, especially how you came out in the third round. So just give us your thoughts on that and what happened with that situation.
Yeah, no, I heard short time, and that's what happened. And I've talked to my coaches, and they heard someone yelling time. I gotta go and look back at the fight again because I wasn't really. I've listened to the fight a couple of times, but I've also had people watching the fight with me, so it's kind of like, yo, shut the fuck up, so I can hear like what's going on. I want to hear everything. But at the end of it all, man, that can't happen again. It's one of those things where it's more so like I've done it in a past fight, and I've done it in a couple of fights where I know there's like 1 or 2 seconds left and the guy's backing up. I'm not going to try to throw a heavy haymaker and as soon as the bell rings, have me land and then have it be a no contest. And, right before that, I'm throwing haymakers. I'm throwing heavy shots. I miss on it both. I heard short time and, I'm looking at the clock and I see like there's 2 seconds left and I'm thinking he's already backing up. So there's no way I'm going to come in and possibly get a finish right now. So I figured, you know what? I've already seen like he's getting tired throughout this round. I just went to touch knuckles as a sign of his respect, but I already knew going into the third round. That's why I'm smiling. Like I'm going to finish him this round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just looked like a matter of timing where if you were in the motion of throwing a punch, like you would have thrown a punch, you wouldn't have touched gloves or anything, but you had just thrown, like you said, and it was just,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that meant 10 seconds. Like in my corner right before the fight, I told him, yo, yell 30. I was like, yell a minute, yell 30, yell short time. Short time meant 10 seconds, but then I heard short time. And then after I threw, I heard another time. And, that's when I looked up. I was like, wait, what? Because I didn't hear a bell go off. Mark didn't step in. So I'm thinking, what the fuck happened?
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, they told me they heard someone yell time as well. But maybe that was for me to like not continue keeping that pressure. But then again, like you said too, I definitely was the fresher fighter. I think I just did a good job at setting my pace though, setting my tempo. Maybe it's not like a really, really high striking tempo, but it's definitely I'm going to hunt you down until the end of time kind of tempo. I was on him nonstop. The only time the fight was slowing down was against the cage. But even then, I was still active on the cage. I was hitting him with strikes every time he level changed, short little elbows to make him come back up. When I wanted him to get off the cage, because I felt his arms getting a little tired from trying to use that grappling, I was able to turn him.
Awesome. So next question is, how did you and Urijah Faber meet, and how has he been able to help you develop as a fighter?
We met a couple of years ago at my last amateur fight. It was supposed to be a pro fight, but the guy ended up backing out the week of, saying it was an injury, and then a month later, he was already in another fight. His thing was he wanted more pay for a short promotion against a guy who he's seen go 7-0 as an amateur fighter, with the all except one of them being a finish, and that one not finished was because it was just 1 3-minute round. But 7-0 as an amateur. Then I went to 8-0 as an amateur, and he got to see that fight. He came out. He liked how I had that showsmanship. I came out with a mask on. I was listening to had a heavy song coming out, and he saw the Dragon Ball Z stuff. And so, as soon as I won, we ran in the back. Me and my brother were super stoked because my brother won that night too. And he just came back and he's all, dude, he's all, where you guys grow up? Who are you? Like, talk to me. Are you interested in moving down to Sacramento to train at Alpha Male? And it took me a while to end up moving down, but I got in contact with him. I got his phone number. I was like, hey, man, I'm actually going to be moving down there in the next month or two. And he's like, oh, man, I thought you were never going to move down. I didn't hear from you for a while. And I ended up making that move. And then I just been, going to the gym pretty much ever since, On the days where I wasn't able to make it to the gym, though, like I hear a lot of people saying, oh, man, I'm not able to make it to the gym every day, so I can't take a fight. It's like, if I don't make it to the gym, I'm doing something else. So I work at the UFC gym in Rockland that he helped set me up with. My Alpha Male, Alpha Male practices are usually in the morning. But even if I didn't make it, I would make up for it by hitting some people up and be like, hey, man, I didn't make it to the practice this morning. Does anyone want to meet up and do some training before I got to go to work? And so that's something I'll usually do. So I'm training 2 to 3 times a day. And Urijah, though, he helped with a little bit of like different series setups, just making sure that when I'm at practice, I'm not just doing the whole entire, like, I'm just going to move right through you kind of thing. He's all work on your head movement a little bit more. So I feel like I did pretty good with that because there's some shots where a lot of people are, oh, man, he landed. But I didn't really feel it because I'm moving with the punch. I'm putting my hand up, moving away with the punch. That way it's not landing efficiently. But I just feel like it's helped out a lot, even with the jiu-jitsu aspect. But I'm not really a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'm a hardcore jiu-jitsu guy. I don't like to be on bottom. And that's something else. Like when you guys saw me on top in that 3rd round, I was very heavy on top. But that was more so because of how my coach, Brian Wilson, introduced my idea of jiu-jitsu. I studied my jiu-jitsu under him for the most part. And so he told my brother and I, he's like, you guys are heavy grapplers when it comes to your wrestling. You're very efficient on top. Only use what's on bottom to set up either, to get up. And that's why I was using my stride says, that's something at Alpha Male they said too. So it's kind of both implemented into the same. The gym I came from worked well because Alpha Male is doing the same stuff.
Awesome. So I have an idea of where your nickname came from and what it's all about, but just give us the story behind the name Galaxy.
So in high school, I had, or even just growing up, my wrestling coach, Mike Lee, he always knew, I was a kid that just worked hard. I just wanted to have fun and I loved wrestling. But in high school, he stuck that name Galaxy with me because of Orion's belt.
Mm-hmm.
And our assistant wrestling coach, Dale Mendez, at the time, he was like, nah, fuck that. We got to give him Latimer. And we're like, why Latimer? He's like, did you ever watch the program? He's like, you're fucking insane, man, when you're training. I was like, yeah, but I'm not going around beating women and doing a bunch of drugs before a game. But that's just my mentality. I just wanted to work hard. I wanted to be the best possible. If I lost a wrestling match, I didn't want to be known as that guy who's going to be losing. I wanted to be that guy who's known for his hard work and to win tournaments, to win big matches and stuff like that. But I feel like, Mike Lee did a great job at giving me that nickname. I was Galaxy, and my brother Lewis and our brother JJ, they were thing 1 and thing 2. Because, I was the one who had to keep them in control, kind of making sure they were training all the time. So it was good, man. It was always a fun time, but we had a lot of fun on those trips for wrestling and getting to know our coach over the years, and we still have that relationship with him to this day.
So I heard you bring up in the post-fight interview that you're a 170er, but also you fight at 185. Which weight class do you feel the most natural at, and where you can perform to the best of your abilities?
Honestly, both, man. Coming into this fight, I was walking around at 208. The fight before that, I was walking around at 205, dropping to 170. And now what I'm doing is I'm going to make sure I'm only at 190 to 195, because what I was doing was I just wanted to make sure I was building that strength, building that muscle endurance at a heavier weight. That way I was stronger at the heavier weight. But now I'm going to be making sure I'm only walking around 190, 195. That way, if the UFC's like, hey, man, we got a short notice fight for you, fuck yeah, I'm going to be ready. Instead of being like, oh, I need a month to cut, a month and a half to cut. So I'm going to start keeping my weight down. I did exactly what I needed to do. And now that I'm in the UFC, this is definitely a full-time job. I'm still personal training. Fighting has been a full-time job for me for a while now, but it's definitely a little bit more nice that with COVID, there's more opportunities to fight at a sooner time, right? I don't know when my next fight is. I just hope it's sooner than later.
And kind of leading into the last question that relates to that, I know it's a little bit too early to say anything, but is there anyone that you're eyeing in the 170 or 185 pound divisions?
All of them. I just want to fight the best possible, man. I don't care about names. I don't care about record. But I do want to be able to make good money off of a big name fight. I don't want to be that guy who, for my next fight's only making chump change compared to a bigger name who's making a good size amount. And then if I beat him, it's like, cool, I just whooped this guy's ass and they made more money than me. That made sense. Not in my opinion. So, my manager, we had a good talk about it, and we're going to take the best possible fights that they give us, but we're also going to be smart about, contract negotiation. Because if anything, I would fight for free. I love to fight, but I also do need to get paid for something I love to do, because fighting is a career. It is for me. It's going to be my career for the next 10, 15 years, but also it just depends on how active I am per year. I'm not going to be like these guys who only fight once or twice a year, 3 times a year because of whatever holiday or just because it's their birthday or something. It's like, if they tell me, hey man, you want to fight on your birthday? Fuck yeah, I'm going to fight on my birthday. They tell me I'm going to fight on Christmas. That's a fucking Christmas gift to me. I'm going to be making a bunch of money, get to fight, and then come home with a bunch of money to support my family. I'll fight on any holiday. I'll fight anytime. Doesn't matter. Just fighting on a Tuesday. That was the first time I fought on a Tuesday. That was weird. I haven't done anything that wasn't Saturday related or Friday, Saturday related since, high school wrestling and football. Usually the dual meets, sometimes this would be on a Wednesday for us, but it's pretty neat. Just, it felt like a backyard, like an after school backyard fight. That's what it felt like, man. Cause like there was barely anyone watching. It was kind of like there's a couple of kids here and there watching. That's what it felt like. So it was pretty cool.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, that's all that we have today. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And then when I get some fight news, I'll make a post about it, and hopefully I'll let you guys know. And if you guys want to do another interview, I'd love to.